Is it you, Dante, that has a background, something like a TV
Probably,
or?
probably,
Okay.
yeah. That's why, yeah, my girlfriend's son's doing some things. Oh my goodness. Oh, we're live. We're there. Welcome to Suitman Productions. It's your host with the most, your producer with the loudest mouth. Give it up for Suitman Productions. Sorry, I'm all out of it, you guys. I got drunk last night. I'm not even gonna lie. Welcome to Social Security Influencers 5, everybody. We've got a great amount of comedians for you today. We've got a Black German comedian. I didn't even know if they made those things right. We've got Bruce Lipsky out of New York. We've got Kerry Day, who looks like the cutest old man I've seen in a long time. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I just want to put him in my pocket and have a good time, right? But give it up for your host with the most, the producer of Ye Old Comedy Shop, the Ye Old Comedy Mic. Give it up for Al Coseglia!
Hey, thank you, Dante. Thank you. We have a great show for you today. Social Security Influencers 5. We started doing these shows about a year ago. It was Dante's brainchild, and we're honored to work with him. Suitman Productions does all kinds of productions, virtual and live. And Dante's a great producer, so we thank him for putting this together for us. We've got a great lineup for you today. We have Baumann out of Germany, Bruce Lipsky in New York, Kerry Day from Dallas, and we're just going to have some fun and do a early bird special because we're old.
Right.
We're proud to be old. Let's get started. My name is Al Coseglia. Al Coseglia. Sounds like Al Seltzer. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief I is. I'm 71, damn it. I had a wonderful thing happen last week. My grandson told me for the first time, I love you, Grandpa.
Nice.
He's almost 50.
Uh-huh.
I was born in 1950. 1950, just performed at the historic Firehouse Theater in Farmers Branch. Historic, built in 1958. What does that make me? That's right. Prehistoric. Just something else that's younger than me. You know what's older than me? Alka-Seltzer. At 71, people think you might have died. A few months ago for my birthday, a local comic, Matt McElhone, posted on Facebook, for my birthday on Facebook, "You are missed, Al," with a heart emoji. He thinks I'm dead. Now other people think I'm dead, but I'm not. But now he's dead to me. Bastard. Getting old is scary, right? We all know that. You know how I know it? I heard a 19-year-old comic say that on stage. Getting old is scary. 19. How dare her? Then she gets up there. She's funny. She looks like little orphan Annie. I get up there. I look like the old guy from Up. Yeah, I got into the comedy world a few years ago. And as all of you know, and Dante knows, most of the comics are young. And I would go to the open mics and I'd sit around with them. And some of them have had colorful backgrounds and they wore ankle monitors. And I wanted to fit in. So I got a life alert. I saw my doctor this week, Dr. Morticia Klein. Morticia Klein. She's a one-of-a-kind physician. She's a Jewish cardiologist, coroner, and moil. She performs biopsies, bypasses, and brisses. Come on, that's funny. I'm old, so I watch a lot of TV news. They still call it that. Do they still call it news or TV? I don't. Anyway, where do you find the truth? I found it. The Weather Channel. No matter what's going on in the world, the Weather Channel only has weather. There's a high pressure system over the Supreme Court building today. That's topical. That's topical. Anyway, I'm old. I hate being 71. I loved being 69. I would tell people, hey, I'm 69. They would say, nice. Now I say, hey, I'm 71. Yeah, that's exactly what they say. So to stay connected to 69, and who wouldn't, I like to tell 69 jokes. Here we go. You know what I love about 69?
What?
Thank you. It's the only sex act that's non-sexist. You can be the 6, you can be the 9. You can be the 9, you can be the 6. You can be a man with a man, a woman with a woman, a man with a woman, a man with 2 women. No, that's 70. You know what I love about 69?
What?
There is no talking.
Mhm.
You know what I love about 69?
What?
It prevents abortion.
Mhm.
I'm getting topical again, sorry. You know what I love about 69?
What?
It's the new safe sex.
Hmm.
Nobody's breathing on you.
Mhm.
But you know what keeps me young? Weed. Smoke a lot of weed. Weed is the fountain of youth. This is my real hair, 71, and this is my real hair.
Hmm.
Why? Pot goes right to your hair. That's why they test it. That's why I have it. I just read that studies have shown that cannabis vaginal suppositories create a balance for older women. So weed keeps your vagina young. That's topical too, sorry. Dementia. Did you know that you can prevent dementia by getting a good night's sleep, falling asleep quickly? And I don't have that problem. I don't count sheep. I count the number of bowls I've done right out. I lose count. I'm asleep. So weed prevents dementia.
Mhm.
Weed prevents baldness, keeps your vagina young, and prevents dementia. So I say, let's let everybody be young. Smoke more weed, eat less chicken. I'm Al Coseglia. Peace out. You're supposed to clap now.
Oh,
All right. Thank you. Okay. Well, I thought I killed that set, but
Loved it.
we're here to have fun. And we have a friend of mine coming up. I've done shows with him. I've done mics with him. He lives here in Dallas. He's very funny. He is cute. He's got great stories. He's a proud great grandpa and a longtime holder of the coveted Mr. Inappropriate title. Here he is, Kerry Day.
All right, Kerry.
hey, thank you, Al. Hey, I haven't met you guys before. Except for Al, I'm just a simple guy. I moved here from Oklahoma. Actually, I escaped Oklahoma as soon as I could. And I have been living overseas for a while. I left Oklahoma to go into the military because I was going to be a ladies' man. Didn't really work because I found the love of my life the first day I was in active duty, and his name is Ed. And we're still together, almost 50 years later. But we lived a dream for the first couple of years that we were first 6 years that we were together in Germany and England and traveling around, and it was just great. But when I was getting ready to leave, I had hit the 8-year point in my career. And in the military, Ed had more. In the military, that's pretty much decision time. And most people decide to go on and retire. And so people were telling me I was being kind of stupid for getting out of the military. And I was actually getting out so that we could stay together. And so I started telling the story about how I was going back to Dallas. I was going to work at LeBairs and be a stripper. And that I was going to wear nothing but a prophylactic tassel. And that worked for a while. I got out of the military, moved to Dallas. We set up house here, but you know, the job search took a little longer than I thought. And so I actually did end up working at, or at least auditioning at LeBairs. Didn't get hired because we needed a little part-time money coming into the house. And I've been doing that ever since. I came into comedy because my doctor told me, he said, if you keep doing your high intensity thing with stripping, you're going to need new hips and new knees. You need something lower impact, and I would suggest comedy. So that's how I got here. I only do a couple of my stripper things a year now. The last one I did was at Christmas. It was a holiday extravaganza at the Waiting for God retirement home. All of my venues now are retirement homes, assisted living centers, nursing homes. It's interesting. Every once in a while, you get unexpected responses, like the lady that always yells bingo in the middle of my act. And the last time when I did the extravaganza, I guess somebody went back in her mind to the year of love, and she threw her panties on stage, but they weren't really panties. They were Depends, and they were wet. I jumped back a little bit to get out of the splash zone. But since then, it's been a great life here in Dallas. And now that I'm getting older, Mother Nature and I are not great friends anymore. I remember as I grew up, my mom and her friends would always talk about how it wasn't fair that men or that women looked old when they grew old and that men got distinguished. And then as I grew up, my peer group ladies would say the same thing. And so I kept waiting for this distinguished look. I was anxious for it. I couldn't wait to see what I was going to look like. This is not distinguished. You know, when I finished up my transformation and I wasn't sure what to think about it, ladies would come up to me from time to time at a mall here in town and ask me if I was Orville Redenbacher. So to keep from pinching their heads off, I decided to surrender to it. And thus, I am the Orville Redenbacher lookalike now. But I still would have preferred being distinguished. I would have preferred, there is a saying among the Black community that Black don't crack, and I have found that to be true. I'm a perfect example that white shatters like crystal on concrete, but it's still good. The only part that I don't like about that is, you know, people think that we are not macho anymore or not sexual, and that's really not true. You know, I've got a real active, healthy sex drive. And a friend of mine came up to me a couple of weeks ago and said, you know, I just lost my sex drive, and kind of shrugged his shoulders, which shocked me. I have a close relationship with mine. I'd be looking for it. I wouldn't just shrug my shoulders. Where does it go? You know, how does it get away? To complement that sex drive, years ago, I've never been much for gyms because gyms are boring. And on Good Morning America, years and years ago, they had a show about exercises you could do while you're sitting. Sounded like my cup of tea. And so I started doing them religiously, and I still do them today. Back then, they just called it an exercise. Now they call them Kegels. And because of them, I have a great ass. You know, what you get when you have a strong sex drive, healthy sex drive, and you've got a great ass, and you look like this, what you get is nothing. Absolutely nothing. I even offer sometimes, I say, just throw a blanket over my head and we'll pretend it's anonymous, but no, doesn't work. I've got two sisters. It should be a comfort to me. They're both, you know, one's younger, one's older. We don't get along very well. I think that there's some resentment there because of the three of us, I'm the only one that's been able to hang on to a man. And mine is still with me. They want to borrow him every once in a while, but I kind of stopped that because it usually costs us money because I expected him to act like the host, even though he was like a reverse beard for them. My days are happy now. I go out walking during the pandemic. I still did stand up, but I did it to the homeless folks that are in the parks here. And we got to be real good friends. And they were a good audience until one of them took me off to the side, socially distanced, of course, took me off to the side and said, you know, it would help if you gave drugs or money. So I wasn't going to give either of those things. They kind of stopped watching it. But that is my time. I've had a great time talking. And it's really hard when you don't hear people in the background. And I will pass it on. Thank you, Al.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, Kerry.
Kerry Day. Kerry Day, thank you. I love your background with the butterflies.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing some of your life with us. We appreciate it.
By the way, Al, I am repainting my balcony.
Oh, to go with the staccato tile? What do you call that?
Yeah, I'm just painting it. I'm just repainting the tile.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yes.
And,
I'm getting ready for my memorial ceremony that I want to have a big party here at the house. And since I'm not going to be around, I can't, you know, Ed's not going to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and get it all spiced up and looking good.
well, send out pre-invites because Ed may forget some of your friends.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it for him. Kerry Day. Thank you, Kerry. Appreciate it. I love the sister. I love the sister thing. Sometimes he opens with that and it comes as a legitimate shock when he does that joke, which is very funny. Thank you, Kerry. It's good to see you on a
Thanks.
Saturday afternoon before our naps. We are honored to have the next comedian. What can I say? He performs everywhere. There is anywhere in the New York area, virtual, live. Bruce Lipsky is on that show. There is no doubt about it. He's a regular on my weekly mic. Here he is from Floral Park, New York. Mr. Everywhere, Bruce Lipsky.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, everybody. It's fabulous to be here. It's an honor to be part of the SSI group. And, Al was talking about his doctor and doctor being a Moyle. I don't tell people this story very often, but I was born in upstate New York and I was circumcised by a country doctor. But I finally found out what his name was. His name was Moyle Haggard. And, he must have done an excellent job, but anyway, I'm 66 years old and I'm thankful for that, but I have elderly parents. And I got a call from my 93-year-old dad the other day. He said, Bruce, guess what? They just opened up a new comedy club in my neighborhood. I said, that's fantastic, Dad. What's it called? He said, Stand Up MRI. I looked at it and I said, Dad, did you check it out? He said, yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't think they ever close. I said, what do you mean? He says, I walk by there. They always have a sign that says open MRI. I have to wonder about my dad. I got a call from his doctor the other day. He says, Mr. Lipsky, I have some concerns. Your father showed up to my office carrying a small chair. So I said to him, Doc, did you ask him why? He said, yeah. He said that was his stool sample.
Yeah.
I said, it kind of makes sense because lately he's been complaining of hard stools. I just hope I don't inherit his hard stool. The doctor was really concerned. He said, you got to get your dad to the hospital for some tests. So I'm in the hospital. I'm walking down the hallway. I put my arm around my dad. I said, Dad, don't worry. I got your back. He looks at me and says, that's great. Now, how about taking my prostate? It's tough when they're old. You know, we got into the elevator and this technician wheeled in this machine with all these contraption with these tubes and hoses. My father looks at him and says, Mister, you're not going to hook me up to that machine today, are you? The guy says, I hope not for your sake. It's a carpet cleaner. It's hard. It's hard. But, you know, after the hospital, I figured I'd take my parents out to their favorite place, Friendly's. You've probably heard of Friendly's restaurant, but there's never anything friendly when my parents go out. They're lukewarm at best. You know, which they don't go out to eat. They go out to complain. We're sitting in the restaurant. My mother calls over the manager. She says, Mister, it's bad enough my eggs are running and my toast is burnt. But why don't you serve coffee in those nice brown Friendly mugs anymore? The manager says, lady, we stopped because people kept on stealing them. She says, oh my, what a travesty. I only needed one more to complete my set. Now I have a mother with a mugshot for being a mug thief. But I really, really tried to take care of my parents. It was their anniversary, so I took them to a fancy schmancy restaurant. You think anything changes there? We sit down, my mother starts to complain. She says, Mister, this soup is cold. It's tasteless. It's disgusting. I said, Ma, what do you expect? That's the finger bowl. And when she got her dinner, she started eating it. She slammed her fork down and said, this is the worst Greek salad I've ever eaten. I said, Ma, how many times do I have to tell you? You don't order a Greek salad in a Chinese restaurant. I'm so afraid I'm going to turn into my parents. As I mentioned, I just turned 66 years old. I look in the mirror, I look like a rusted old 56 Buick. This body is totally shot out of alignment. My rear end is making funny sounds. My hose leaks. And my ball joints have all dried out. I said, oh, I better get Mako. Mako says, oh no, you better get Medicare. It's hard, man, let me tell you. It used to be in my house, if I had a leak, I'd call my plumber. Now I call my urologist. And he's $50 cheaper. I remember the day I used to go to Studio 54. I used to get on that dance floor. I used to go bust a move. Now I'm afraid to take my wife dancing. And they bust a hip. My wife said to me the other day, Bruce, let's get down tonight. I don't mind getting down, but how the hell am I going to get up? And I'm starting to forget things. I swear my phone mattress has a better memory than I do. And lately, my wife's been complaining to me. She says, Bruce, you know, I've been talking to you, conversations, you don't seem to respond. You have loss of hearing? I said, no, I got loss of listening. I remember the day I used to have a full head of hair. I used to part my hair. Now my hair's just departed. Kerry, remember back in the day, in order to keep your hair stiff, we used a product called Vitalis. Al, if I want to keep things stiff, I depend on Cialis. I used to be a photography buff too. I used to develop film using my Polaroid. Now the only thing I'm developing at my age are hemorrhoids. And look under my eyes, these crow's feet. My crow's feet are so bad, my doctor said they need orthotics. It's not easy. It's not easy. I remember back in the day when I grew up in New York City, I went to a city high school, Bayside High School, New York. In order to pass gym class, we had to take swimming. So I remember going to swimming class the first day. And so I usually get your uniform. So I asked the teacher, I said, Mr. Z, where's my Speedo? He looked at me and said, Speedo, how about speed? No, this is a naked swimming class. He said, your birthday suit is your bathing suit. I was shocked. I said to him, I hope you don't teach woodshop. Imagine being 13 years old among all your schoolmates. Everybody looks different, everything else like that. At 13, I barely had eyebrows. I was so scared. I thought they were filming that TV reality show, Naked and Afraid. because I was naked and very afraid. And during this class, we actually played water polo. Imagine it's water polo. Water polo, popping the ball into the nets and everything. I'd be standing in the corner bobbing over there. The teacher would say, "Hey, Lipsky, protect your nets, protect your nets." I'd say, "The hell with that. I'm trying to protect my nuts." What a day I had in swim class. I guess some of the good things about it, in competitions, I wasn't the best, but I did always hold my own. And I did become an excellent one-handed swimmer. But actually, the only good thing about having this naked swim class, it gave me a lot of confidence with the ladies, especially once I learned the breaststroke behind the bleachers with Mary Lou Zabrinsky. That was hot stuff, let me tell you. But, now that I'm 66, I got to stay in shape too, because when you get older, you start to lose it a little bit. But I only exercise late at night, very late at night, between the hours of 3 and 5 in the morning. I run sprints from the bedroom to the bathroom. My wife calls it my fleet of pee. I guess the good news is I got my time down to 6 seconds. But unfortunately, I only can hold my pee for 4.2. Messy times, messy times. My wife calls me a peon. I pee on the carpet, I pee on the floor. I'll tell you. You know what, my wife, listen to this, she's a fitness nut. She takes something called goat yoga. Yeah, goat yoga. You may not have heard of this, Kerry. This is when you're in a studio, all these horny, hairy creatures roam around, and goats too, and you're laying on your back, and the goats jump on your back, and my wife finds it very therapeutic when the goat jumps on her back and licks your ears. I said, wait a second. When I tried that last week, you slapped me and threw me out of the bedroom, and now you'll pay a goat to do it? She said, well, he has fresher breath and better technique. So I asked her a simple question. I said, "Do you allow kids in the class?" She says, "No, they only allow old goats." Before I met my wife, I was a player. I was the player. I used to have lots of dates. Now, nothing but prunes. My wife said to me, "You comparing me to a prune?" I said, "No, you got a lot less wrinkles." But I did date a lot of people. I even dated a very famous TV weather person. I remember the first time we got intimate. It's like a bad winter forecast. She was predicting 10 to 12. All she got was 2 to 4. Man, was she angry. Now I know why they name hurricanes after women. But when I first met my wife, our love was infectious. I'm happy to say after 30 years, our relationship is just chronic now. The latest research says, Al, you may not have heard this. As you get older, your skin gets thinner, which I find kind of weird, because after 30 years of marriage, I developed a much thicker skin. And as I said, 30 years. We just celebrated 30 years of wedded bliss. Oh, no, wedded blisters. Because all these years she's been rubbing me the wrong way, and I got the calluses to prove it. Our marriage, we don't have a regular marriage. We don't renew our vows every year. I get a performance review. I have to enter contract negotiations. Last year was tough. My wife said, "Bruce, if you worked for me, I would have fired your ass a long time ago." So she gave me 3 months probation and took away all my fringe benefits. Where's human resources when I need them? But she is a lovely woman. She really is. She really tries hard. She's into this natural foods now, health foods. So she sent me to the store to get organic vegetables. I never did this before. So I'm in the store. I asked the produce guy, "Well, how can I tell which vegetables are organic?" The guy says, "If they're half the size and twice the price, then they're organic." I said, "I think I drive one of those. It's called a Prius." And my wife thinks everybody in the family is a food critic. She'll spend an hour online surfing the net looking for a recipe, an hour shopping, and another hour cooking. And in 30 seconds, my son will say, "You're cooking that shitty chicken again?" I tell you, she makes a broccoli casserole to die for, literally. I don't get her sometimes. We had a party the other day. She served finger food. I said, "Honey, these things are delicious, but next time you got to clip the nails." I said, "Bruce, you think I'm running a 5-star restaurant over here?" I said, "Apparently you are, because every time you cook, I have reservations." And sometimes she doesn't make good decisions. She just hired a new nanny and the person to clean the house, a new house cleaner. I hate this woman. I'm telling you, this woman comes in late. She eats our food. And I think she's stealing from us. I finally told my wife, you got to fire your mother. But during this pandemic, my wife has become obsessed, totally obsessed with buying on Amazon. Yeah, buying on Amazon. We get so many packages. They just reach on my front porch as a loading dock. Every time I go out there, it's like a scene from on the waterfront. She started calling me Biff. I've been yelling out lately. I could have been a container. I could have been a container. But my front porch is stocked with boxes up to the roof. I'm afraid to pull anything out. If anything falls out, it feels like a game of Jenga for giants. I'm constantly going from the front porch, upstairs, downstairs. I'm like a personal delivery monkey. She calls me her Amazon primate. The other day, I looked outside. There's a guy sitting in a chair on my lawn. He's reading the newspaper. I said, what are you doing here? He said, I came to show off my no-union job, my no-show job. Next thing I know, he said to me, come over here. And have any problems with packages falling off the front porch? He guaranteed that no package is going to fall off and disappear in my house. I pay $5 a day for porch pirate protection. But my birthday was coming up. My wife said, Bruce, what can I get you? I said, how about a weight belt, a dolly, and a forklift? It's not easy. It's not easy. And the other day, I saw my wife painting in the driveway, big letters, reserved for UPS. I said, what's going on over here now? I think she's having an affair with the UPS guy, because every time he comes over, she's always bragging about how big his package is. I'm starting to wonder if my fulfillment center is lacking. I know what Brown's doing for her. What's he doing for me? And the other day, my wife handed me a box. I opened it up. I was so excited. In the box, guess what it was? It was brown shorts, construction boots, and a clipboard. Now, anytime I want to have sex, I got to sign for it. This is making my family life miserable. But I guess the good news is it used to be the only smiles in my house now were on the cardboard boxes. Now there's a lot more in my wife's face. But again, we do have a good relationship. We love doing things together, Broadway shows, nice dinners, the UPS guy. Got to keep it in the family. Now, speaking of family, I have a son. I remember when he was 13 years old, I caught him playing with a deck of cards with naked women. I said to him, son, what kind of games do you play with this? He said, lots of solitaire. And I always thought the noise is coming from his room because he was playing with his other joystick. I guess I was wrong. And he's actually an art major. He majors in cartooning. But lately he's been shirking his responsibilities. I got a call from the school. And they said, by the way, if he continues this way, we're going to put him in suspended animation. But he is a good kid. He really is. But it's troubling sometimes. The family, they're at me at all angles. My wife got a dog, a brand new dog, a designer dog. Imagine that. Spent $6,000 on this dog. $6,000. She carries it around like a Gucci handbag. Except the Gucci handbag only costs $3,000 and doesn't need to be walked 6 times a day. And she's named the dog Fabio. Dresses him in silk pajamas and a gold collar. I don't call him Fabio. I call him Houdini. Because with 2 wags of his tail, he's made my sex life completely disappear. Al, you know how hard it is to perform when there's a panting wet tongue, a wet nose, and the smell of bad breath in your bed, and a dog. That's my time. My name is Bruce Lipsky.
All
Enjoy
right.
the rest of the show.
Let's hear it for Bruce Lipsky. Thank you, Bruce. We know everything about you now. Yeah, talking about the Amazon and deliveries and does your wife order a lot from Amazon?
Absolutely. Yeah. Lately, she's found this new thing called Zappos. You ever heard of Zappos? That's the online shoe retailer. It's a true story. We had a wedding to go to. She ordered 37 pairs of shoes. 37 pairs of shoes because it's free shipping back and forth. And so the FedEx guy was out there so long. 1, he got a ticket for loitering. Number 2, he got his 10,000 steps in back and forth. But I was very angry because he dropped all the packages on the porch and I had to schlep them into the house. I finally yelled at my wife. I said, your shoes, feet are killing me.
Thank you, Bruce. We appreciate that. Love it. All right, I'm very excited about the next comedian. I have never seen her perform, but I've heard a lot of great things about her. And we have our first international comedian, and we're excited about that. She calls herself a solopreneur, which I love. That's wonderful. She makes her money being Mrs. Understanding. We're going to hear all about that, I guess. She comes from Indiana, the great state of Indiana, Mike Pence's state. Isn't that right? Is that where he's from? Yes. Josh Hawley, too, I think. No, he's Missouri. Well, she now lives in a small town in Germany. She'll only call it Strudelbach. Strudelbach. That's to enlighten the unworldly wise. It's beautiful, B. Here she is from Germany, B. Baumann.
Hey, thank you. It's so great. Thanks for having me out. A social security club. That's what I need. It's some security. It's hard. You know, I'm living in Germany and I know everyone's curious. I know the question that's on everyone's mind. The answer is yes. I am constantly mistaken for a native German. I dyed my hair platinum blonde because I heard in Germany it'd make it easier to fit in. So I want to talk about my hair issues in Germany. It has been a struggle. I went in Strudelbach to this one hairdresser and she turned to her coworker and said, she has bad hair. Bad hair. As if my hair had been caught smoking in a tube top in the alley. Yeah. But I did finally find a great hairdresser. She's Dominican and she's from the UK. And she says, you have lovely hair. That's the way she says it, lovely hair. The only issue is that she's a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. And so she likes to put me under the hairdryer and then come sit with a cup of tea and a stirring spoon and say things like, soon we'll have no air. Soon there'll be people who can't even afford air. And I'm under the dryer. I said, what? No hair? If I'd have known that, I would have gotten the 500-year-old hair extensions. And she said, no, love, no air. And I said, oh, okay. If that's all, I mean, you've got to have your priorities. Yeah, and I know that it seems like I'm being judgmental, but I'm also being judged. I went to the Strudelbach spa last week, and people in Strudelbach will not drink the water. Okay, so you should know that. They only drink water from glass bottles. Well, I was in the bathroom filling my water bottle in the sink, and a German woman walks in and she says, you now drink from toilet. What next? You brush your hair with toilet brush? Now, my hair is a sensitive topic. So of course, I got my backup. But she's standing in front of me, buck naked. That's right, as red as a lobster. And I'm just odd. Then she says to me, that she has been to Jamaica. Yes. And she is a naturalist. Well, she has a head full of dreadlocks under both arms to prove it. Yeah. She said, I don't wear deodorant. I don't smell. And I thought, hands down, she was pretty decent. But I must say, I may be desensitized. Yeah, living in Strudelbach, Germany, people tell me that I am living the dream. Yes, it is like a dream if it was written by Stephen King and it was aimed at children, because it's crazy the things that happen. Like, take for instance, last fall. Every fall, the different villages have a bonfire for the fall festival. And so they take all the furniture that they have assembled from IKEA and make a huge fire. I mean, this fire was huge. It was biblical. It had all the animals of the forest sitting on the edge of the forest, waiting for their Uber driver, Noah. Yeah. And they come to my door and they knock. And I say, yes. And they say, come with us. Now my heart nearly drops out of my chest because I don't know. I don't know if they're anti-American or if they're anti-African American, or if they're just sponsors who want me to join their club. Because in Germany, you have to belong to a club, a choir, or a cult, or some sort of hybrid, you know, like Disney World. Yeah, so there I am walking with these white people deep into the forest, and they're carrying torches. Now, I love being a stand-up comedian, but I was hoping that I was not the entertainment. Well, we get out there, and I have to say, I don't know anything about the forest. And I've only heard of weird things that white people do in the forest. I'm a city girl. As he said, I'm from Indiana. I am a concrete kid. And do you know how I know I'm a concrete kid? Because whenever anything would happen, my mother would say, it's your ass fault. Yeah. I didn't see a grove of trees until I was 13. And I thought a Bush was a crappy president. So when I see them going into the forest with a bunch of pillows, I imagine that this is a club that is building cribs for chipmunks. You know, I'm looking around for the film crew. You know, I'm thinking this is Pimp My Crib. And then one of the young kids shows me that these are marshmallows, and she puts one on a stick and she puts it into the fire. Well, okay, now I'm having fun. But that's when the police came, because I had called them. And they said, this looks very innocent to us. And I said, not if you're African American, you know, from Indiana. the last thing I want to be is the center of the show. Yeah. So finally, the police did hang around and put their sticks into the fire. So it was a fun night for everybody. Yeah. It's crazy living in a small village in Germany. You know, take fast food. Fast food in a small village, it's called a garden. That's right. They go out to their garden. And if you do not have a garden, one will be appointed to you. That's right. They call them victory gardens because it's their last stand against American consumerism and death by Krispy Kreme donuts. Yeah, they're trying to save themselves. They say things like, I can, this is just gardening, eating from my garden. They're so proud. They call it gardening. I call it grazing. Yeah. And as I said, they will not drink the water. And they get their water from a well. Yeah, a well-stocked shop called a grocery store. That's right. They go to the grocery store and buy tons of water. My neighbor, Gretel, the other day, she comes home, her car bumper literally bouncing off the concrete, filled with water. I should tell you about Gretel. Gretel is a distant cousin of the original Hansel and Gretel, okay, from Grimm's fairy tale. The two kids that killed the witch? That's right. Her family has lived in this village for over 500 years. They still live in that gingerbread house, only they've renovated it into a 3-family. And, now that we're culturally aware, we know that that was a misunderstanding. That witch was just inviting those kids for cookies. She was misunderstood when she said how sweet they were. But that's neither here nor there. This is the oldest family in Strudelbach, and they still have that kiln oven sitting in the corner of their house to prove it. Yeah, it's crazy the things that people do in Strudelbach. Everyone's so proud of the fact that we have so many psychopaths. That's right, psychopaths. You don't want to be driving. There's a place on the road for, expensive vehicles. But if you're driving a Fiat, you should be walking. That's right. They are hard on people. Everyone walks, and they're walking to the pubs, and they have their strollers and the bicycle paths. These people are proud of the amount of times that they can pass gas. Yeah, coming from Indiana, it's a different idea that we have about cars. I'm from Indiana, and the inner city, we need our cars to cross the street. There's places in Indiana where you cannot get across the street without your car. Yeah, and growing up, I lived across a 6-lane highway. We were hit so often by cars that we were designated by the city as speed bumps. But hey, at least I had a job. So now I'm in Germany, and it has been crazy, but I am enjoying every minute of it. I'm B. Baumann.
All
Thank
right.
you.
E. Baumann, beautiful stuff. So you do comedy in Germany on stage?
Yes, yes. Everything's closer here.
And
So-
so do you do it in German?
No, I'm doing it in English, and I have some fun with the language. Uh, so there's things like Dorf, which is a small village, and I play with it on the English and say the plural of dwarf is dwarves, and it's the little village, But I'm supposed to be living the fairy tale, so I'm supposed to be Cinderella in this story.
Well, we're glad you were here. Thank you for making our show international. Let's hear it for B. Baumann.
Thank you.
B. Let's thank all our comedians, Kerry Day, Bruce Lipsky, B. Baumann, myself for hosting, and we're all very thankful to Dante Barnett and Suitman Productions for what they do, giving people like us a chance to do a show that is a little bit out of the realm of the regular 25-year-old comic on stage. So we appreciate that. We
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunities for us to show that we can be funny and old. So thank you, Dante.
Thank you,
have a great
Dante.
day, you
Appreciate it.
guys. Thank you for coming out. Woo.